Hello, this is day 16. That means we are now halfway through New Year, New You. And I'm going to tell you guys, every single day has just been phenomenal. If you are joining in right now in the live chat, go ahead and put your city and state in the chat. Let us know what country if you're not in the United States. And if you are not registered, you need to go to newyearnewyouconference.com so you don't miss any more of the opportunities to win the grand prize $1,000 giveaway, as well as somebody is going to win a flat screen TV. Y'all, I am so honored to be here with you today. My name is Taria Vision Avant. I created this event over 8 years ago, guys. And every single year, we've just continued to evolve. There have been speakers who have spoken at this event itself, New Year, New You, gone on to build 6- and 7-figure businesses. And so I'm just really grateful, not only for our speakers, but also for you guys. Every single one of you guys have been plugged in since day one. In fact, if you're an A1 day one, go ahead and put in the chat A1 day one. Put the letter A, the number 1, then put DAY 1, A1 day one. If you're an A1 day one, that means you've watched all of the replays or you've just been tuning in live every single day. You are amazing. Well, listen, guys, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our next speaker. And then I'm going to tell you, I told you guys I'm wearing this shirt. I'm going to tell you about Voices of Change. This was our conference that we just had this year in Ghana. And I'm going to talk to you guys. We have an opportunity for you to go to Ghana next year. So anyways, listen, we're going to go ahead and get into our speaker today. Her name is Pamela D. Smith, and she is a wife and mother with a mission to help women increase their confidence so that they can lead with faith and serve with excellence. As a minister, award-winning author, and corporate professional, Pamela's books, workshops, and outreach ministry empowers women to become confident and impactful leaders who serve with excellence, whether in their homes, careers, or community. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Pamela D. Smith.
I am Pamela D. Smith, and I am dedicated to helping women improve their spiritual and emotional wellness so they become confident, resilient, purposeful, and fulfilled. In 2021, the National Institute of Mental Wellness found that 27.2% of women, compared to 18.1% of men, were living with a mental health condition. In addition, a study from the early 2000s found the lifetime likelihood of developing an anxiety disorder was 30.5% for women compared to only 19.2% for men. Now, 19.2% is a high number. However, in comparison to the 30.5% of women who have the likelihood of developing a lifetime anxiety disorder or mental health condition, that's very high. These conditions range from general anxiety to panic disorder to PTSD. Anxiety is one of those things that's not foreign to me. I remember one night after I had had my second son. He was only about 2 months old, but I remember it being a cold winter night. And I remember being awakened to my body feeling numb. My heart was palpitating, and I was feeling sweaty, yet shivering like I was cold. And my husband, he stood up because I jumped up out of the bed all of a sudden. And he was like, "What's wrong? What's going on?" Very puzzled. But I reached for the cordless phone because we had cordless phones at that time. As I ran outside barefoot, and mind you, it was a winter night. It was about below 30 degrees. But running out for some reason at this time made me feel as if I was safe. It made me feel as if I was going to get some type of help immediately, although I didn't even know what type of help I needed because I didn't even know what was going on at the time. But because I didn't know what was happening, I called my cousin who was living next door to me, him and my aunt, and I asked him if he could hurry up and come outside. And it puzzled him because he was like, "Well, what's going on?" Now, at the time, I didn't know that this was anxiety. I didn't know that anxiety was considered a mental health disorder. I didn't know any of that. but it left me wondering what was going on. And this thing continued for months and months, and I even ended up having a very similar experience. But it was years before I was educated on what anxiety is. It was years before I realized my own triggers. And it was years before I even put some practical things in place as to how not to allow it to disrupt my life, my career, or my relationships. And that's what I'm going to share with you today. 3 spiritual, emotional, and mental wellness habits to improve your life, career, and relationships. Now, we're at the beginning of a new year where everyone's mantra is pretty much new year, new me. But in order to have a new year, in order to become a new you, you are going to have to change some of your habits. And one of the most important habits that we can change for longevity, for life fulfillment, is in the area of wellness. So there's a quote by Soren Kierkegaard, and Soren Kierkegaard is quoted as saying, "Prayer does not change God, but it changes him who prays." There was a Barna study found that 69% of women in the U.S. say that prayer is essential to their faith or their spiritual well-being. Yet many women still find it challenging to maintain a consistent prayer life due to busy schedules, due to mounting stress, things like that. Although they desire a fervent prayer life, although they recognize how important a fervent prayer life is to their spiritual wellness, they still find it difficult to get into the habit of having that fervent prayer life. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to take 1 minute right now, and I want you to just close your eyes, and then I want you to take 3 deep breaths, and I want you to silently decree one positive statement over your life. For example, you can decree that I am strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. See, what decreeing does is it reinforces what God has already said about you. And when you are reinforcing what God has already said about you, it increases your confidence. And when your confidence is increased, it increases not only your spiritual wellness, but it also increases your emotional and your mental wellness. So I want you to just take that moment, and you can even type, if you would, just go ahead and type your decree in the chat right now. Just go ahead and type your decree in the chat. And the example I gave for myself is, I decree that I am strong in the Lord and in the power of his might, which means I don't have to operate in my own strength. I am strong in the Lord and in the power of his might, not in my own might, not in my own flawed self, not in my own human weakness and frailties, but I am strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. And you see, when you think like that and when you tell yourself things like that, it causes a shift, a positive shift in your spirit. So go ahead and type your decree in the chat. I'll give you a moment. I'll give you a moment to go ahead and type one positive decree in the chat that's going to help you with your spiritual wellness. I wrote a book almost 2 years ago called Decree It. And decreeing is stating the scriptures, declaring the scriptures, affirming the scriptures over your life. It's positive self-talk that's rooted in the scriptures. But in that book, Decree It, I share how decreeing positive declarations or scriptures and prayer has shifted my own mindset during some of my most anxious moments. There was a time when I would wake up in the middle of the night when I first started having these anxiety episodes, and my heart would be racing and fear would just be consuming me, because it's like, what is going on? What is going to happen? If you've ever had an anxiety episode or a panic attack, you literally sometimes think you're about to die, especially the way your heart be palpitating. But I went through a season of having these anxiety attacks, not knowing what they are, because I really wasn't going to the doctor for anything. I was going to the emergency room, but they weren't really telling me anything. But I realized it came to the point to where I got tired of getting up, going to the emergency room in the middle of the night, because it seems like that's when they would happen. But I realized I could either allow fear to control me, or I could control my response to the fear that was trying to enter my spirit. So I started praying specific prayers. And sometimes, you all, in order for us to grow spiritually, in order for us to get spiritually strong, in order for us to become resilient, we have to be specific in what we pray. So I started praying these specific prayers and decreeing, which are decreeing are scripture-based affirmations out loud. They're not just affirmations that we come up with, but decreeing is based on the word of God or scriptures. But I started praying the specific prayers. I started decreeing, and slowly but surely, peace started to replace panic. And that's when you know you are spiritually well. That's when you know that your spiritual well-being is intact. It's when things that used to would cause you to panic, things that used to would cause fear, those things or those situations start to be replaced with peace. They start to be replaced with a sense of calmness. They start to be replaced with the attitude or the mindset that, hey, this too shall pass. This is temporary. This is not final. This is not my lot in life. So in order for you to become spiritually well, one of the habits that I'm sharing with you today for spiritual wellness and increase spiritual growth and well-being is to make prayer and decreeing a non-negotiable habit. And what do I mean by non-negotiable? I mean that I don't care what comes up, you dedicate time to pray. You dedicate time to decree. The prayers don't have to be long. The decrees don't have to be complicated, but you just need to be intentional in 2025 and going forth. You need to be intentional about your spiritual wellness, and praying and decreeing is one habit that you can implement for spiritual wellness. Now, if you're going to be intentional about your spiritual wellness, I just want you to type in the chat, I am. I am. Type it in the chat. I am. I'm making the commitment. I'm planning on being intentional. I'm planning on growing spiritually. I am planning on making my spiritual well-being a priority in 2025 and beyond through praying and decreeing. And again, if that's you, just type in the chat, I am. Wayne Dyer, many of you probably have heard of him, a great motivational speaker and thought leader. But Wayne Dyer says that you cannot always control what goes on outside, but you can always control what goes on inside. And for years, when I first heard that quote, I didn't really believe that, because I'm like, well, I can't control what goes on inside. I can't control the thoughts that come up. I can't control that. But I believe what Wayne really means is, just because a thought comes up, or just because you find yourself in a negative situation or circumstance that may very well not be due to no fault of your own, it does not mean that you have to allow that to fester and take root in your mind and in your spirit, so much so to where you begin to walk, live, talk, and act as if this is final. This is just the way that it is. That's what he means when he says that you can always control what goes on inside, because just because you think a thought does not mean you can't cast that thought down and replace that thought with something positive. That's what mental wellness is all about. Mental wellness is getting in the habit of making intentional mindset shifts. Yes, negative thoughts come up. None of us are exempt from having negative thoughts. None of us are exempt from having the type of mind, because we're all human, but none of us are exempt from having the type of mind where that we can control a negative thought coming up. But what we can control is, do I allow this negative thought to be planted in my spirit or to be planted in my mind and start to take root? And we know wherever there's a root, there's going to be a fruit, which means that when things take root in our mind, in our spirits, in our hearts, in our lives, eventually there's going to be some fruit as a result of that root. So what we have to do when we're making intentional mindset shifts is we have to pluck that thought up and we have to uproot it. I don't know how many of you know much about farming, which I don't know a whole lot about farming, but I know that when a farmer is planting seeds, they put that seed in the ground and they cover and protect that seed. They pack it down with dirt so that it's hard for the wind or the rain to really wash that seed up out of the ground. And so that's what it means to allow a negative thought to take root in our lives. It means we're actually protecting the negative thought. It means we're actually pushing it down and covering it up with layers and layers of things so that nothing can wash it away. Well, if we can do that with a negative thought, we can do the same thing with a positive thought. Immediately when a negative thought comes up, cast it down and immediately replace it with a positive thought and cover or protect that positive thought. How do I cover and protect a positive thought? By constantly repeating that positive thought, by making it my mantra, by making it my decree, by making it a part of my daily sayings or my daily positive self-talk. There was a study published in Psychological Science, and this study found that individuals who practice reframing negative thoughts, they reduce their stress levels by 23%. 23%. How many of you, let me know in the chat by saying me, how many of you would love to get in the habit of when a negative thought arises, you immediately uproot it and you replace that negative thought. You be intentional about making the mindset shift and you replace that negative thought with a positive thought. So here's what I want you to do. Here's another exercise. I want you to type in the chat, and this is something that you can also do in your own free time. I want you to write down one recurring negative thought that often crosses your mind. You know, we have some thoughts that we think or that comes up, you know, because we're not purposely trying to think negative about ourselves or our situations, but we have some negative thoughts that come up. And sometimes we have reoccurring, the same thoughts that constantly come up. I want you to think about a recurring one. And I want you to write it in the chat. And after you write it, I want you to write an X behind it. Make an X behind it. And I want you to reframe that thought into a positive one. It's not difficult to do, but reframe it. For example, if the thought always comes up, I'm not good enough, and you start agreeing with that thought, you think on it long enough, well, you know what? I'm really not good enough because when I tried XYZ, it didn't work out. And then I tried this and that didn't work out. And then I went on to try this and this happened. So now you're in agreement with that negative thought. But the way you reframe that, I'm not good enough is you start telling yourself, you know what? Yeah, things may not have worked out in the past, but I have the skills and experience needed to excel. It doesn't matter what role is put before me, what opportunity is put before me. It doesn't matter about the past failures or the way things didn't work out in the past, but I have the skills and the experience. I even have the drive, determination, and the work ethic needed to excel in this role. There was a point in my career when I wouldn't call it imposter syndrome, but negative thoughts and feelings like I'm not good enough, they plagued me. These thoughts were recurrent in my life. And I agreed. I mentally and started agreeing with these thoughts. I'd walk into meetings feeling like I didn't belong in these meetings when my manager would say, hey, I feel like you would be good enough to be in a meeting with this executive and this executive and go in and take notes and make your presence known and, trying to help me build my professional brand. And I would go in the meetings all timid and shy and really wouldn't ask any questions because I felt like I didn't belong. And my managers, every manager that I've had in my corporate career, they would always see something in me and try to pull that out of me and try to speak greatness into me. But because I was not mentally well, I was festering on the negative thoughts. I didn't even embrace the positivity that they were speaking into my life. I just kept coming into agreement with the thoughts that I don't belong in these positions. I belong in these positions where there's really a lack of authority and there's really a lack of power and there's really a lack of leadership, which, let me throw this out here. I believe that you can lead from the seat if you position yourself in a certain way. I don't believe that leadership is a title. I believe that leadership is a behavior. But I didn't see myself as a leader at all. And pretty much every manager that I've had, every leader that I've had, have always tried to get me to excel higher and to go for some of the top roles and stuff within the company. And I would always say, well, you know what? I'm fine. I'm okay. I just want to stay in this position because I'm doing it so well. I hate to keep swapping and moving around and stuff. I'm content. And I would even say stuff way before I was really thinking about my wellness. I think this position is better for me for mental and emotional purposes. I don't want to overload myself with too much stress and things like that. But what it really was is it was a lack of mental wellness. It was what I was telling myself internally that allowed me to internally feel like I really wasn't good enough for the positions. I felt like if I get in some of these top positions, I was also running from more responsibility. If I get into some of these positions, then I'm going to be held to a higher standard. I'm going to be more accountable for things that I don't want to be accountable for. And I'm going to sabotage the position and mess up my entire career. And I've been here too long for that. Those were the thoughts that I was telling myself. And in turn, by telling myself those type of things, I was sabotaging my career anyway. Because I wasn't allowing myself to grow. I wasn't allowing myself to be challenged. And that's what happens when we're not mentally well and when we're not intentional about our mental well-being. We allow thoughts to sabotage us from going to our next level. We allow thoughts to sabotage us from growing. We allow thoughts to sabotage us from being our best. And that's why we've got to be intentional in 2025 and beyond with reframing thoughts. Those negative things that come up, no, I don't come into agreement with this. I cast this thought down. And you don't even have to be all spiritual or, as some people say, churchy about it, but I cast it down. As church people, we'll say, add on in the name of Jesus. And there's no shame in me with saying that, because yes, I cast it down in the name of Jesus, because where I don't have the strength or the might to cast it down, he does. And for those who may not be there yet, you cast it down. Sabotage due to a lack of mental wellness. And when I talk about mental wellness, I'm not talking about the people who have been diagnosed, such as I have, with anxiety, or people who've been diagnosed with any type of mental condition. Because you had that diagnosis, no fault of your own, no shame in that. But what I'm talking about when I speak about mental wellness, I'm not saying, oh, you shouldn't have that diagnosis, or, oh, if you have that diagnosis, then something is wrong with you and you need to do something to fix that. No, that is not what I'm saying. What I'm talking about when I talk about mental wellness is I'm talking about the things that we can control. And we can control our thoughts. Not what we think, but we can control our thoughts in the aspect of what we allow to grow and take root in our lives and in our minds. That's what I'm talking about controlling the thoughts. And again, when those negative thoughts come up, being intentional about immediately replacing them, reframing them with positive thoughts. So me in my career for so many years, I sabotaged going to the next level for fear that I wasn't good enough, for fear that I wasn't going to excel in the roles. And now that I'm confident, now that I'm more mentally well, now that I'm intentional about my spiritual wellness and my mental wellness, because they all link to each other. Spiritual, mental, and emotional wellness all link to each other and cause us to become confident, resilient, and purposeful in life. They all work together. And now that I'm there, it's almost time for me to retire. So I don't want you to wait so long to be intentional about your wellness. I don't want you to wait so long. And I don't want you to just focus on the physical aspect, which is very, very important, but the losing the weight. I want to get down to 10 pounds. Start setting goals like, I want to think more positive thoughts. Things that may not be tangible, but they hold just as much value. They hold just as much transformative power as the tangible things. Because if you lose 20 pounds, but you're still not spiritually, emotionally, and mentally well, you are still going to sabotage certain aspects of your life, your career, and your relationships. Still going to. Yeah, you're 20 pounds lighter. Congratulations. Yeah, you're 50 pounds lighter. Congratulations. Yeah, you eat fruits and vegetables all day long. You don't drink sugary drinks, sodas, or anything like that. You feast on water, but you still have a wellness issue because you hadn't worked on the things that truly matter: your spirit, your mind, and your emotions. Again, the physical is good, but the things that really hold you up, because there are some people who are considered well overweight and obese, but spiritually, they have so much fortitude. Emotionally, they got it all together. They're resilient. They don't allow a situation in life to cause them to fall down or even cause them to stop. Yeah, they may stumble, or if they fall down, they get right back up and they keep going. You've heard the thing that say, take a licking and keep on ticking. Yes, they're resilient. That's mental wellness. That's a person who's concerned and intentional about their well-being. And that's what we've got to be. If we want to be purposeful, if we want to be resilient, if we want to be confident, we've got to be intentional about our well-being. Our internal dialogue has to change. That's how confidence grows. Confidence is not all of these outward things. Those things are superficial. Those things are vanity. It's not, oh, I feel good because I got my makeup on, I got my hair done, I got on some nice clothes, some nice perfume. Those things are self-maintenance things. And while they can make you feel good outwardly, if the inside stuff hasn't been addressed, it's all a facade. All a facade. Understand that our minds are our most powerful tools, and that's why we have to guard our thoughts. We have to reframe the negative, and we have to feed our mind with truth and positivity daily. Yeah, someone said this bad thing about you. Is it the truth? If it's not the truth, reject it. If it is the truth and someone says something bad about you, work on it. Work on making it be not the truth. Work on your character. We get so caught up with things that don't matter. There was a quote by an anonymous person that says, gratitude turns what we have into enough. By a show of hand in the chats, in the comments, how many of you have ever found yourself at a point of life where you feel like what you have or what you had at that time just wasn't enough? How many of you in the chat, by a show of hands, have said, I should be this much further along? Somebody congratulate you or tell you something that you've done good, and but I should be this much further along. Had I done this when I was 18, had I gone to this college or university, had I started in this career, had I took this job offer, had I married this person, had I gone to this church, I would be that much further along. But this anonymous person is quoted as saying, gratitude turns what we have into enough, because when you express gratitude, that's an emotional expression. That is saying that even if I took some detours in life, even if things are not looking like I feel like they should be looking at this particular time in my life, I am still grateful for where I am. I may not be where I thought I was going to be. I may not even be where some of you feel like I should be, but I am grateful that I'm not where I used to be. I thought by now I was going to be living in a 3,500 square feet home, 4-car garage. I thought I was going to be the executive, and this is just an example. These are not my dreams or aspirations, but I thought I was going to be the executive of this company. But here I am in an entry-level position, living in an apartment. I'm driving this type of car. I only make this amount of money, but I'm grateful. I'm thankful for that, because when I look around and see that there are so many people that are not even where I am, there are so many people that don't even have what I have, it makes me understand that I'm right where I should be. Time and seasons are important, because sometimes we do good stuff out of timing, and we're not able to maintain it. With every level, there has to be the proper character in order to be able to sustain ourselves on that level. So even if you're not where you feel like you should be, You feel like you're not really where you want to be or where you had planned to be grateful. Be grateful. Because things can always be worse. When you live your life in a state of gratitude, you are showing emotional stability. You are showing that no matter what, I consider this a blessing. A research from UC Davis found that people who regularly practice gratitude experience 23% lower levels of cortisol, the stress hormone. We've got to unsubscribe from this hustle culture that social media has created. We've got to get our stress levels in check. That is a part of emotional wellness. I'm not going to allow things that I have no control over to stress me out. I'm not going to allow it. And that research shows that gratitude is an emotion that helps us to get our stress levels in check. I want you to go back to the comments and I want you to type out one thing that you're genuinely grateful for and be specific. Be specific in the comments. I'm grateful for my life. Be grateful for your life, but be a little more specific. I'm grateful that right now at this stage of life, I have a roof over my head, food to eat. I have a job to where I can pay my bills, buy food to eat. I have loving children. I have a loving spouse. That's how you truly hone into that gratitude and being grateful for your life. And then later, what I want you to do after this call, after this workshop, what I want you to do is I want you to start a gratitude list and every day write down 4 or 5 things that you're grateful for and be specific in writing down those 4 or 5 things. I'm thankful for my health today. I'm thankful that I don't have high blood pressure. I don't have diabetes. Or I'm thankful that although I was diagnosed with diabetes, I'm thankful for medicine and modern day science that's able to create medicine that's going to help me feel better and live longer. That's being specific with your gratitude. During one of the most challenging seasons of my life, gratitude became my lifeline. There were days when everything felt heavy, and I could not see past the anxiety and the stress of just every day. But I made it a point eventually. I'm not saying this happened automatically, but I eventually made it a point to write down every day 3 to 5 things that I was grateful for every single day. And I'm not going to say that every day I was specific, because some days it was just simple as writing down, I'm grateful that I was able to get out of the bed today. I'm grateful that I was able to sleep through the night without an anxiety or panic attack. I'm grateful that no fear came upon me in the middle of the night. I am grateful that I didn't wake up through the night, that I was able to sleep all night. I'm grateful that I woke up and I feel rested. And slowly, this habit of expressing gratitude and every day writing down 3 to 5 things shifted my perspective. And it helped me navigate that difficult season with resilience. A season of my life that I didn't really think I was even going to really successfully get through it. I didn't think I was going to die or anything in the midst of the season, but I thought that, okay, maybe this is the way I'm going to live the rest of my life, with a bunch of anxiety, a bunch of stress, a bunch of not knowing how to problem solve, not really making the right decisions. Because some of the things we go through self-inflicted. They're a result of not making the right decision, not being wise in our decision making. But gratitude, That emotion of gratitude helped me navigate through that difficult season, and I found myself on the other side of that season, and I find myself today more resilient than I was then. And as the years go on, see what happens when we create good habits. The more we practice those good habits, the more we find ourselves when we're going through something, the more we find ourselves being able to get through it quickly. I like to tell people all the time, it's not what you go through, it's what you get through. It's not what you go through, it's what you get through. So if you want to find yourself on the other side of difficult seasons, difficult moments, difficult times, learn to practice gratitude as part of your emotional well-being. In order to build that resilience, learn to practice gratitude and to put some practical things into place to reduce your stress level. Gratitude is not just a fleeting feeling. So it's just not something that you should feel today and then tomorrow you're not grateful. Or it's not just something that you felt last month and in 6 months you're like, oh yeah, I was grateful then, but I'm not grateful now. It should not be a fleeting feeling, but it should become a powerful habit, one that is expressed. That's why it's an emotion. Cultivate it daily and watch how it transforms your emotional well-being. Watch how it transforms your emotional well-being. Your spiritual, your mental, and your emotional wellness are all interconnected. Praying and decreeing, it anchors your spirit. Intentional mindset shifts renews your mind. And gratitude and reducing our stress level fills our hearts with peace. So I challenge you today to take one habit from this and commit to practicing it consistently for the next 30 days. And the reason I say one habit is because I found with my own self, now if you can do this, if you can take on more than one thing, fine. But I'm saying start with one habit, because I found with my own self, when I try to start 3 or 4 things at one time, something ends up lacking, and I end up just forget about it all. But over the last few years, I've learned to implement one habit and I really do every 90 days, one new habit every 90 days. And then when those 90 days are up, I add a habit to that. I don't stop doing that and start doing something else, but I add a habit to that. And I have found exponential personal growth, professional growth, an increase in my confidence, a more fervent prayer life, a more purposeful and fulfilled life, but most of all, a more satisfied, a more confident, a more peaceful and joyous woman. By doing one new habit every 30, 60, 90 days, whatever works for you, and continue to build on those habits. I know whenever there's a new year, we like to set goals. And if that's your thing, that's your thing. But I have learned that habits are more effective than setting goals. Because a lot of times when we set goals, once we achieve them, we're through with them. But when we cultivate new and better habits, we become a new person. Happy New Year. Happy New You. Thank you so much.
Yes, darling. Yes. Pamela. Y'all go ahead and drop in the chat right now a takeaway that you received from Pamela. Wasn't she phenomenal? Amazing, guys. Drop in the chat, drop in the chat, drop in the chat. Pamela, thank you so much for being a part of this event and teaching us all about building up that confidence, right? And that leadership and everything that encompasses it all, right? Well, listen, y'all don't forget, after this, you got to go into the Facebook event chat, in the chat. You want to put one takeaway that you received, but also I want to talk to you guys about Voices of Change. So Voices of Change is now becoming our annual event, an event that we celebrate in Ghana every single year. This past year, starting off in 2024, going into the new year, we had an opportunity where 25 of us traveled over to Ghana. And not only did we travel over to Ghana and experience all of the Ghanaian activities and things like that, but the main purpose was two-part. Number one, to support the children. We partnered with a nonprofit organization called Cheerful Hearts Foundation, and they bring awareness to child trafficking and child labor. We're going to be looking for some people that would love to partake, even if you can't come to Ghana, in donating items. We're talking about anything from underwear, clothes, shoes, like flip-flops and things like that. Anybody that's willing to donate, sanitary napkins, tissue, just all types of stuff that you probably don't think too much about that many of these children lack. They also enjoy books, coloring books, pens, pencils, crayons. We gave so many crayons and pencils and pens. Guys, it was phenomenal. But we're also looking for people that want to come. It's one thing to send, but if you can actually come to Ghana, I promise you it's a life-changing event. And so we're looking for some people that are interested in hanging out with us. And then the second part is we do have a conference. Now, the conference is, if you want to be a speaker, it's open to only Book Prophets Club members. However, you don't have to be a BPC member to come. Okay, so if you're interested, I can tell you this. We had the commander-in-chief that came to the conference and literally blessed us. And then this year coming, we're going to actually be able to visit where he dwells. And then our event is going to be in a larger space. And so it's just going to be a phenomenal event. And we are looking for more people who are interested. So if you would like to know about joining us in Ghana, all you got to do is go to the VOC event.com. The VOC event, and VOC stands for Voices of Change. Let me make sure I got the right link. Hold on, y'all. Let me tell y'all. Because y'all see, the VOC event.com. Just submit your information. On the form, it's going to ask, are you interested in coming, donating, speaking, etc. Right? And so we are down to only like 3 speaking spots available. All of the different spots, if you do wish to come, you can make payments, but y'all, this is a huge opportunity. And if you've never, ever come to the motherland, if you've never, ever come to Ghana, you want to come. Guys, I tell you, it was life-changing. There's so many different things we could talk about that was life-changing just on the event. The fact that January 1st is when we spent giving back to the kids. We had over 100 kids show up when it was only supposed to be 30. Then we went over to the Cape Coast Castle where it was just amazing, life-changing as well. The conference where we had it at the Cape Coast Castle, and people were just so excited that we did an event in Cape Coast itself. So if you're interested, go to the VOC event.com. VOC stands for Voices of Change. Also, when you come, you get to be a part of our collaboration book, which is also going to be a tool that can help you raise capital, to raise money, to help pay for your trip. So we'll be having the second edition to come out, the vocevent.com. All right, you guys. Well, that's it. Thank you, Pamela. You were amazing. Tomorrow we have day 17. We will see you guys there. Don't forget to go to the chat to put in what you took away. Other than that, I love you all. God bless you all. Thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to bless your screen. Talk to y'all later. Deuces.